Well, here it is Monday, and kind of at a loss for a whole lot of things to talk about today. Uh, this past week has been a busy week, and today was kind of a busy day. I've been a lot of things to settle up on some of the things about my wife. You know, I didn't really fall behind on any monthly bills, but now comes that second batch, where hospitals, doctors, things like that, and also insurance claims that are out there that I've got to take care of. And of all things, seems as if people that are retired, if they had Advantage plans similar to mine, a lot of them are looking for a new plan. And I spent quite a bit last week going over them. I met with an agent, and hopefully I hear back from him pretty quick. It's kind of a trying time for retirees. The inflation, the second part of inflation hit most of us. And what I'm talking about is a few years back, about 3 years back, our inflation had hit a little better than 37%. And that was in the first 2 years of the Democratic administration. It hit us hard. Part of it had to do with the economy itself was in a flux. It had to do with the pandemic. Some people were able to work, some weren't. There was a lot of handouts given with no money backing it. And that causes a false economy reading, let's put it that way. And with all that extra money going out, nothing to back it, inflation jumps real quick. And that's what happened. That was the first go around. Well, the problem is some of that takes effect 1 or 2 years later. Part of it is tax on your house, income, real estate tax. And man, it blasted me out of the water. It was a huge increase, revaluations. And of course, our COLA this year, is around 3%. Yeah, it's a joke. People don't, well, I was going to say people, but our COLA is based off the average person out there. And the average person out there isn't having to put up with their insurance being dropped bang like that because of they're not meeting or can't meet the quota that the government demands on them before they hand the money out. There's sometimes the payments are a little late, and there's only so much money allowed per item claimed, and it's up to the insurance company to negotiate it down with the hospitals and doctors and things like that, if you have an Advantage plan like I had with United Health. Whew. Man, when I got that letter, I went into a panic because I don't want to be without insurance. I can assure you, in the past 10 years, between my wife and I, we probably spent well over $1 million for, she had a back operation and I had 2 back operations. She had a knee replacement, carpal tunnel operation. She was in the hospital for RSV. What else was? Oh, she had a neck operation where she had a brace or a plate put back here in her back, her neck. Foot operation. Now my 2 operations for my back was, one was where they do it with a microscope. They put 2 holes in your back, and they go in there and they clip part of a couple of vertebrae that were hitting nerves that were being squeezed by a disc back there. And they cut part of the disc out. Well, a year later, that had failed. And man, it was tough, really tough. And I did get in, got my back fixed, and so far it's holding up. They went in there and they put a spacer in and then a bone graft. on the very bottom part of my spine. And then they put a metal in my back and screwed the vertebrae to it so that there's no movement in there. Well, it transfers movement above and below. Well, down below, that's where my spacer is. And they had to put a spacer in there because the disc collapsed and the vertebrae come down and were pinching the nerves. And there was no way of getting it out of it. It had to go up. And that's what they did with it. And they did it, they weren't too sure which way they were going to have to go from the front or the back, but they were able to get it from the back side, thankfully. They didn't have to go through, and a lot of damage happens inside of you when they go through the front, especially when you're as big as I was back then. I weighed quite a bit, and there was quite a few things to go through to get to that back, so a little different today. Anyway, along with the second generation of all that I'm having to put up with to make up the pricing differences, my wife passed away September the 3rd, and the bills are just starting to come in. They bill the insurance company. The insurance company goes through it, and unfortunately, one of the hospitals tried to go through Medicare. And so Medicare turned them down completely, obviously, because I have a cover-all Advantage plan with a private company. So they billed me, and they give me 30 days to pay up. It was a pretty hefty bill. So now I'm trying to get with them to make them understand that they billed the wrong outfit. The government wants no part of it because I had insurance that covers all, and they pay my insurance company, and I pay my insurance company. And I got a pretty clear thing from the insurance company, and they have this little thing on there that says exceptions. And I was looking at that, and I'm thinking, oh, no. There's certain things that are called, that aren't covered by insurance, if it's not specific. And, man, that's a big category. And part of the medication that what my wife takes is for her eyes. And it's a special eye drop that goes in. It doesn't have preservatives in it. My wife was very sensitive to the preservatives in that medicine. And it's expensive, very expensive. And the insurance company pays for it. Well, the hospital, because of the cost of it, they don't keep it on hand. When you buy it, you have to buy a month's supply at a time, and it's for the individual. It's not something that's put on a rack and you go out and pick off what you want. So at first they said, well, you can't bring yours in because we're worried about contamination. And I said, well, there's no such thing with this. Each day's thing is a vial, and in a plastic vial. And it's a one-time use. Take the top off, squeeze it, and it's done. I said, they're expensive, so if you screw up and you don't get in the eye, it gets very expensive. And then you got to try to explain it. The government won't pay for your mistakes, or at least they won't pay me for it. And they approved me bringing in this medicine since it was going to be for one patient. They said, we never run across that before. I said, well, I beg your pardon, you did. My wife was in here a couple of years ago. Yeah. And we went through the same process. And I said, what I did is your pharmaceutical that's in the hospital, they would stamp it and give their okay on it. And your nurse would put it in the eye, and then I'd have to pay you to put it in my eye since my insurance company wouldn't do it for you. Okay. So, man, is that expensive. It cost me more for him to administer the eye drops than what the eye drops cost, and the eye drops were the most expensive thing we've ever had to buy, so even with insurance. Well, that's my rant on that stuff. As you can see, things weren't the greatest for the past week. I've been just inundated with things that had to be taken care of. And there's a few things I've been putting off. I just didn't feel like doing them. it's just a different world out there, for me right now, and I'm doing the best I can. I am getting better at it because as the things come in, I'm trying to handle them, get them back out. My table every 3 days is full of paperwork. It's just, in my office, it's, it's got piles everywhere. Unfortunately, while my wife was in the hospital, instead of filing things in the cabinets, I made piles. And like it'll be bills or, mostly bills. I separate some of them out because you get them. Yeah. And I handled the stuff that were controlled by my internet, individually with different companies that I have the accounts on. Let's put it that way. So those I really didn't get behind on. It's the other stuff. And during the process, there were certain things I had to meet standards so I could bring my wife home. I was able to bring her home in between all the things that were going on for about 9 days. That turned out to be a kind of expensive process. And that stuff wasn't covered by insurance itself, the equipment. I bought the equipment so that I would have it at home and pass inspections. These care specialists, they look at it. I don't know if they grade it or not, but they check it off a list. I had 2 different ramps that I had purchased. One I was able to return. The other one's sitting out here. They're way overpriced. The wheelchairs, I donated them to an outfit that loans them to people that can't afford to buy them. Hopefully they get good use out of it. Some of the stuff my wife never got to use. She wasn't home that long, and she was bedridden while she was home. All right, now I got all through that part. Going through different items, household items, trying to figure out what I need. My wife was good about making lists out when something was needed. And I'm not as good at doing that on that particular end. I make lists all the time. It's just I'm not used to what do I need for put in the fridge or freezer. What about condiments? What about spices? Instead of marking them off on a tablet, she has a couple of different tablets that she was using. I was trying to remember them up here. Well, then I go in the grocery store and I blank. So I get home, and I might be missing one item, or 2 items, whatever it is. So I'm learning my lesson slowly but surely. It's kind of like a retraining process. It's too bad I didn't listen a little more when my wife was here to share her experience with me. But like I say, I'm learning, and it's just going to take time. As far as dealing with other items, personal items, whether it's banking, investments, whatever, stuff like that, I handled a lot of that before. It's just, there are certain things you can't do during the course of financing or the finances over a simple estate, no matter how simple it is. Because sometimes there's rebates coming back from certain things. And if it actually comes back and says estate, well, that goes into a different category for banks. Sometimes you have to start a estate account just for that, for distribution. It don't make a lot of sense, but it follows a lot of different guidelines. My understanding is federal and state. I'm just, like I say, it's all new to me, and thank goodness we don't have to go through some of these things once. I don't plan on going through it again. I mean, the next one that will happen, my kids will be doing it for me. It won't be me because I'll be gone. At least I think. Oh, now I'm trying to think. What else can I talk about? this being so busy, I'm not used to it. It makes me nervous. I'm actually starting to get a little more sleep at night. I'm averaging between about 5 and say 6.5 hours, somewhere in that category. I did take some melatonin one night. I woke up during the middle of the night. I took another one, went back to bed. That particular day, I ended up with 9 hours sleep, and I haven't done that in years. I guess it worked. I don't. I didn't take anything last night. The doctor said as long as I'm getting anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, I'll be able to maintain that and be okay. It's better if I go to 6 hours, and I'm doing my best I can. I use a CPAP machine. I have sleep apnea. I also have COPD, so I have a breathing problem as it is, and then sleep apnea on top of it. My sleep apnea, I literally forget sometimes to breathe. There have been times, especially like in the summertime, I'll walk across the yard and I'll get about 3/4 across. All of a sudden it dawns on me I haven't been breathing, and then I got to stop for a while to catch up. I don't know what goes on. If I had a CPAP on me, my CPAP, when I don't breathe for a little bit, it kicks a little extra air. It goes faster, or more pressure. It's on automatic, and it'll do that for a little bit, and then it comes back down. So, and I forget how many times an hour it does it, but it's enough that the government pays for my equipment up to a certain extent. I have to pay 20% of the price of the equipment. Let's see. Now, I don't know how that's going to go this next go-around. The government is changing what they pay or don't pay for now. And, before your Medicare didn't pay for everything anyway. It was one of them deals where you pay all your life in. I paid since I was 14 into it. I paid that into not unemployment, but state withholding and federal withholding taxes. And when Medicare came about, then I was paying into it from then on. So I paid all my life. I paid my share. But when you get to this age, I guess it was never planned how expensive doctors and pharmaceuticals are going to be. And it far and exceeds any what people put away for the future, way over. Now, even if you're a millionaire, if you don't have insurance, you could be broke in a couple months, literally broke. The services are extremely costly, and there's so many traps out there for you. They can, let's say that you need therapy and they don't think you can get taken care of at home. They can force you into a nursing home that has therapy under their agendas. That's not a good place to be, gentlemen or ladies, unless you have family that can check on you on a regular basis. You don't want to be in a nursing home for any reason, whether it's therapy or anything else. You're better off to be at home and have home care. And your insurance will cover it for a little bit, but it's not a long period. And the insurance for it is expensive. It's a trap. When you get up there in age, no matter how you figure things out, somebody was up there figuring out how they can get your last nickel before they put you 6 feet under. It's everything you do. It's like, nope, you can't do that. Yep, you can do that, but it's going to cost you. I kept running against a wall with the hospital and social workers and stuff like that. They have these grand plans for you. You got to do this. And I said, well, you go, if you think it's so nice, you go to the nursing home. They gave me a list. And I checked them out. And I asked the social worker, I said, have you ever checked these out? Well, I used to work at one of them. And I said, oh yeah, really? Which one? I was trying to read them off the facts of how many people are actually employed there and how many patients are there and how many minutes they can, on an average, could they spend with each patient. It was impossible to even make a bed in each room for the amount of labor that's there, for the amount of rooms that are being utilized, or beds, let's put it that way. And that was in a lot of them. It's just a matter of doing your math. It's scary. I don't know how they pass inspections. This is a rich country, and there shouldn't be excuse for that kind of stuff, you know, in my mind. I'm beginning to wonder, you know, a lot of people that travel, they say that the United States has the most expensive insurance in the world for everything. So it is a big dollar thing, insurance. And when I look at what I pay out, and I look at the budget almost on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis at the very least. And I'd figured a long time ago that some of my biggest expenses were going to be health care. And it's getting closer to the figure that I had thought back when I first retired. And I figured the amount because of advice, let's put it that way. But if we have another 5 years like the last 5 years we've had, it will break most middle-class retirees. And I know a lot of them out there said, well, it didn't hurt me any. I still have X amount of dollars for my base. They didn't teach a lot of the people my age, I guess, percentages. But anyway, when you lose in a 2-year period over 1/3 of your buying power, and you brag you still have that base, you can only buy 2/3 of what you could before the inflation took over. Now, I know you're going to argue with me. You say, oh, I'm doing okay. But along the way, you stop buying certain things to balance it out so you had some money. You know, when the new administration, not this last one, but the one before, when it took over, at the end of that first year, I was having to draw a little bit out of that base because it was so expensive, it was hard to grasp it. And when you look at your overall budget, then you're looking for things that you can drop down so that you can stay in that middle class area of some kind. Yeah, man, you know, steaks quadrupled because they're kind of an accessory, right? But everybody wants them. Roasts. In that just past 1 year, roasts had more than doubled. And we used to buy a lot of roasts. So we ended up eating a lot more pork and chicken. But then chicken went up. And then they had the bird flu going around that was killing everything off. That made it go up. So chicken got expensive. You know, eggs are up there around $9 a dozen for a while. And when you look at it, I mean, that's about 80 cents each or something like that. But holy mackerel. when you're paying $1 or $1.18 a dozen, and it goes up to about $9. I mean, that says something for it, right? You know, bacon that was $1.79, all of a sudden is up there at $8 a pound. And then they said, well, we can fix that. So they put it in 12-ounce packages instead of 16 and still charge you the same. And your canned soups went from 12 ounces to 10 ounces or something. Even the dog food, they did that too. You had less weight. I thought, how many people go there and they think they're doing just as good? You gotta be careful. You gotta figure out what it costs you per ounce, not by the can, not by the package. What's it cost you per ounce? And what's the cost you per calorie or nutrient basis of it? There's so many things you have to look at. I mean, every way they could skin the cat, they did that. The manufacturers, everybody. And when was the last time you heard of making really a good car you don't have to worry about? There's so much plastic in these vehicles anymore that when they're anywhere from 4 to 6 years old, if they've been outside, the first time you go to work on them, you're breaking clips off and everything else. You're having to replace the clips. Man, it's just a lot of plastic in the interior. Oh, Lord. This pickup back here, it's a 2002. It's 23 years old. It's a lot easier to work on, but it has its flaws. And like the hubcaps, they're chrome, but they're plastic. Yeah. When they get to a certain age, they start lifting a little bit. Now that one's a one owner. It's pretty much been kept inside. It looks great. You wouldn't know its age. The interior is leather, and it's spotless. No age, nothing like that on it. No wear spots. It's got 62,000 miles on it. It had 61,000 when I got it. And that's kind of my pride and joy because I figured that's the last vehicle or truck that I'm going to buy. And I did go in and get tires because I'm going to pull a trailer with it. And I wanted something on there that I looked at the tires around there. And they had great tread, but they were aged out. And I was afraid that if I started pulling the trailer, I'd start having blowouts. I wasn't going to have that. And so I went ahead and the other day, that's part of my busy week last week, by the way, was putting those tires on. As far as the caps that go on there that cover the bolts, or nuts up on the wheel, I'm going to put them on, but very carefully because the chrome is about ready to fall off that plastic cap. So more than likely, I'll be taking those caps and probably spraying chrome and then clear over the top of it to see if I can't get it a little better if they get too bad. What a way. Either that or I'll have to order some new caps. I have no idea what they cost, but I'm sure they're probably 20 or 25 bucks a piece. So just a little disc is all they are. The wheels aren't too bad, but I can see where they return back into where the nuts are on there. It looks like they're starting to lift a little bit here and there. I don't know. Things just don't last like they used to. You used to be able, well, if you buy a 1950 Chevy, it probably still has the original rims on it. If you can find one. A lot of them end up in the junkyard. The people, after World War II, they got to the point where, well, we got to have a new car because it looks different every year, and we got to keep up with the Joneses. But before that, the old Model A's and T's and the old Chevys and Lincolns and all that, they all look kind of alike. So you could buy one, and as long as you could put a set of rings in it every so often, you could drive that thing forever. The old Model A, you could throw kerosene in there. It'd run down the road with kerosene. Still will. Them old John Deere Johnny Poppers, man, they're running all over the country. They farmed with those things, and I mean, they used them over and over and over, and they're still out there running. And we can't make a car that lasts 3 years anymore, or any kind of vehicle. I mean, Lord help us. I ran it. I'm all done for today. Part of it I'm laughing about because the more I think about some of the stuff that in today's world that don't make sense to it does if you grow with it, but when it catches you by surprise, it's all when you're having to face it and you're thinking, oh my, what am I going to do now? Well, you can't go back in time. You can talk about it. You can let everybody else know how good it was or bad it was. The worst things back then was you had to work all day to make a living, and but the heck of it is, it was usually just the guy. Today, both the man and woman both have to work, and somebody else is taking care of your children. Wow, what kind of marriage can you have? Well, in reality, what happens is half the people get divorced. And then a big share of those that got divorced, they get divorced again several times. Yeah, like I say, I don't know what the world's coming to. Things used to last, including marriages. Not as much today. I read on there the other day, somebody said, well, they ought to make it a lot easier to divorce. too hard. Too hard. Oh, man. If you want to get a divorce, why would you get married in the first place? That don't make sense to me either. Now, I took my time, before I got married. I went with my wife for a year, and we were engaged for a year before we got married. Now, we got married young. We were both teenagers when we got married. We were high school sweethearts. Today, I don't know. People all of a sudden they get married and then they want to get a divorce. It's the next thing up. The lucky ones are the ones that don't have children while they were making their mind up how long they wanted to stay married. Unfortunately, once the child comes and they get a divorce, it affects the children and affects families on both sides. It's a tough world out there for you. I always said that it's too easy life anymore. When that guy the other day, and most of you know who it is, I'm not going to tell you the channel I picked it up off, but he was having court problems with his ex, and he said they need to make it divorce easier. Oh, man. People want an easy world. One thing I can tell you is, I guess it's a good thing you weren't born and raised when I was. There's not many of us left out there. I started working, I was awful young. And it was just part of the regime. And one of the scariest things was when I retired. It really was. But it was also some good time because I got to do things that I never thought I'd get to do. And still, I'm out there exploring different stuff. I love the world I'm in. I don't love what happened to me recently, but I have this love of the earth, the things on it, love of my God, and the family that I've got left to interface with, and neighbors. I've got great neighbors. I hear people get upset with their neighbors all the time. Oh, my goodness. I feel for you. I really do. But even looking for a home, we spent a couple years to look for a home to retire in, and we bought this almost 23 years ago. I'm never sorry for it. I was still working when we bought this, and I'm not sorry we bought it. And I kept looking at homes after we retired because I was thinking, I want somewhere that's milder. But something would always stop me, and I'm glad it did. This place, the longer you're here, the more you're acclimated to it. It makes you feel more at home the more time you spend in it. I suppose if it wasn't against the law, I'd let them put me under the sod out here in this yard when I'm gone. They're going to make me go to someplace else probably, unless they spread my ashes, I guess. Well, I don't have much more. I just rambled, try to give you ins and outs and just make something up so you can hear something. Other than that, that's about it. So sorry I didn't get in there Saturday and put something up. I just couldn't come up with anything. And it's one of those things where I'm still not whole yet. I got my feet on the ground, and I'm doing my best. So with any luck, maybe next Saturday. But I'll tell you what, I've been going over there and watching Two Leaves in a Pond. I enjoy listening. I can't stay up all night. Obviously, I have to have a certain number of hours of sleep. And I always stop at Tori's channel and I give her a thumbs up. I don't always say anything, but I want to make sure she knows I was there. I just put a thumbs up in her channel. And she could use some more. She's at a little over 900 subscribers. She could use another 100. Jeebus out there that buys the lockers, he could use you too. He is knocking on the door of 1 million. He's knocking there. Help him get there if you can. There's a lot of people out there, good people that need you to just sub to them. Go out there and look at them, take care of it for them. That's it. Oh yeah, you can do mine too. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk more about that another time. Just I like the thumbs up, and if you'll sub to my channel, that'll help. The day is coming, I think, where I might need legal help, And when that day comes, I'm gonna have to move pretty quick. I have talked to a friend of mine about redoing this website and making it more professional. I may take some courses too, so that I can put something out here that will keep you interested. For one thing, like this is 35 minutes already. That's way too long. So if you made it to the end, congratulations. Talk to you later. I'm going to cut it off here.